In last week's video, and in case you missed it, I will link it below, I shared with us what we loved about Accelerated Christian Education's preschool curriculum. And in today's video, I felt it necessary to share just some of the preparation we have done as we have prepared for the schooling of our children, sometimes without even knowing we are doing it, but somehow finding ourselves preparing. And I thought to just put this together and share it in 8 points that I trust would be helpful for you as you consider to take your child through preschool, whether it's with the Accelerated Christian Education program or any other program. We need preparation. Welcome to Formations of a Noble Woman. This is a channel where we share matters womanhood and the woman seeking the mind of God concerning the same, so that you and I can align ourselves to His will and purpose. And of course, we share matters concerning homeschooling, concerning homemaking, the stay-at-home mom life. Now I happen to be a stay-at-home mom life, and just matters womanhood. If this is the kind of content that you like, consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Now, as is always our custom on this channel, when we do this kind of sit downs, we will pray and trust the Lord to speak to you and I as I share. Indeed, Father, that's our prayer, that you would speak to us and just make the things I'm sharing clear, because I believe what I'm sharing is not just about us or about our children, it's about you. And when these things are about you, then you come in and intervene and help us to do your will. So that's my prayer, that you will help me, you will help my viewer, that we will do your will even as we think about our children and their schooling. In Jesus' name, amen. Preschool really presents part of the foundation of a child, and it is so important. I'm sure I cannot overemphasize that. You probably already know that, and so it's critical for us to trust the Lord to prepare aright for the same, and that's why I am sharing this, as I said earlier. So we will go right to the first point. The first preparation you want to do is to pray. And when you have prayed, pray some more. I know when I took my children through preschool, part of what was really gotten to was my character. I think my character simply went through an overhaul, perhaps, because there's a lot that the Lord needs to work in you, and you want to trust Him in prayer that He would prepare you for the same. Whether it's patience, so that you can persevere through, you can patiently trust the Lord to work His will in your child. Sometimes they wake up and they just don't feel like working, and days are very different, and so you just want to trust the Lord to prepare you and to give you the grace to be able to take your children through preschool. It's not easy, of course, it's challenging. I'm not sure there's anything in life that comes easy, but with the grace of God, He will help you and I. So pray for yourself, pray for your child, trust the Lord to help you as you prepare for the same. And of course, as you go along, once you have started, you will still need to pray a lot. Of course, there will be many obvious reasons why you will need to pray, even trusting God for the health of your children, to open their minds to understand. I mean, that's a major preparation. Pray, and remember, this is really part of your fellowship and communion with God, because you need to walk with God in His Word and in prayer. So I'm hopeful that this is rather obvious, but so important, a major preparation for you to make. The second preparation you want to make is familiarize yourself with the curriculum, with the instructional manuals, with the activities beforehand, because it will be good for you to have just an overview of what you will be doing, as well as just getting ready to ensure that you're ready to start. And of course, each week you will need to go through the week just to make sure that you have the materials you need, and each day in the evening you need to be prepared for the next day, but I'm sure that when you do this, you'll have some clarity of what you need to do in order to prepare. And of course, also this will include, like I said in the previous video that is linked below, that there are some things you may need that you will need to get them out of town, and thank God right now things are available much more than they were during those days. So it's possible for you to be prepared beforehand so that you know what your child needs. Some things, of course, when you familiarized yourself with them, some parents and some things are very costly, you can borrow some of those things. I'm thinking of, for instance, the train cards that I used, some of the cards that you can borrow from a parent, so that you are able to reduce the cost of the same, so that you're just focusing on the curriculum. So it's good for you to be ready. Just familiarize yourself with the material. Also, I need to also add that the first time I did this and I was familiarizing myself with the instructional manual, I felt quite overwhelmed by what I needed to do. I was actually scared to start, but I want to assure you that once you get to familiarize yourself, don't worry, especially concerning the manual. After a week or two, you're going to actually get the hang of it, and you will flow through to the end of the year. I can assure you that. The initial struggle is when you see the instructions and they look quite many. They look like, wow, will I be able to manage this? But I can assure you, you will manage. You only need to get to know the manual, which you will do in about a week or two, and you'll be able to get the hang of it. So take this also seriously. I'm sure that will be helpful as well. Also, what that means, I need to add, is to try and get your curriculum as early as you possibly can. I know this can be a challenge in our country, especially with our economic times, but if the Lord can help you, even if it's just for one term, just try and get it as early as you can, so that you then don't get caught up. I have been caught up once in a while when because of course, financial situations, you delay and you find your term is delaying unnecessarily. So that's something you also want to put into consideration, ensuring your curriculum is with you in time. The other preparation I found very helpful is just preparing the children beforehand, even a month, 3 months, or a year before, just familiarizing them with the colors, familiarizing them with numbers, especially from number 1 to 10. But I emphasize, do not insist that they learn to write, to read or to write the numbers, to read or to write, because this will come later. You want this experience to just flow through when they get to learn to blend letter sounds themselves, learn to write the numbers later on. What you want to do is basically familiarize them with a color, so that if color purple comes, they can tell that's purple, they can tell that's yellow, they can tell that's number 2, for example, they can tell that's number 5, by just looking. This program is basically helping them to be ready to learn to read and write. And when you take them through the program that way, they will enjoy their reading and writing experience. So I emphasize, even as you prepare them for the same, sometimes through rhymes, some of the cartoons that come, so that they help them identify colors. Yes, you can do that, but don't pressure them to learn to read and write. Leave that for later. It's going to be a wonderful experience for them when they get to do it at the right time. You're basically just vile unawapea kionjo, you're giving them a taste of what to expect. The next thing that was so important for me is keep the end in mind. You're preparing the child to learn to read and write without harassment, the way some of us might have gone through struggling, so that they end up hating to read and write. You want it to be a wonderful experience for them. So you want to keep that end in mind. That means you want to be sure that you will pass on the sounds very clearly. Thankfully, the system comes with the tape for the songs and the sounds, so that you're able to get them clearly. So ensure that you pass on those sounds very clearly. Of course, one of the challenges we have is that this is an American system, and some sounds, I'm not sure they are present in our accent, in the Kenyan context where I am. I'm thinking of the sound like or, so that it comes out or. And for us, in words, we may not pronounce it clearly, like when I'm talking about ark, the ark, I may not say the ark, we will say the ark. So when you are keen about that, you know that in future, this child is coming to learn to read the word ark. So you have to learn to pronounce it in a way that to pass on the phonetics of the sounds to the child in a way that in future they will grasp it. And I say that also because some of the letters, because of our context also, I'm thinking of one of the sounds that has a deeper R. It's A, but R. I'm not sure we have it in our accent. So you just want to be keen about some of those. I'm thinking of, for example, the word a ball that we play with. It has the R sound, so I need to help the child to pronounce it in a way that when I say the word, for example, in dictation, they can be able to tell it's a ball, not a ball with O. So those are some of the things I found a bit challenging, and the need to familiarize with the sounds in a way that I understand the context where the sounds are coming from, another culture, and so trying to incorporate it where I am so that the child can be able to learn the sounds as they ought. So you just want to keep that end in mind, because if you don't do it right now, you're going to cause them to struggle to learn to read and write in future. So keep that in mind. I'm emphasizing that a lot because it's something I faced, and I had to learn the sounds correctly so that I could pass them on to the child correctly for the sake of their learning to read and write and blending the sounds and getting to say the words. Prepare to get to the level of the child. I don't know if I mentioned in the previous video that I considered myself as one who was not very good with children, and so I didn't know how I was going to homeschool my younger children, through preschool and kindergarten. I mean, it was challenging to even think I could do it, except that there are parents who encouraged me because they had done it before. And one of the lessons I had to learn was to learn to get to the level of the child, and that meant a lot of understanding how your child grasps things and understanding that you may need to be dramatic. I know one of my children, you needed to actually be over dramatic to be able to help them concentrate, to listen to a story and to answer the questions as you went along, at least for 20 minutes. So that's something you will need to trust the Lord. Somehow God has gifted us to minister to children. I learned this as I went through this system with my own children. I thought I wasn't good. I would keep away from Sunday school until I started homeschooling my children, and I learned, it's not as difficult as I thought it is. So just learn to get to the level of the child, to play with the child through some of the activities. And one of the highlights my children have is, us doing the activities in the manual in a way that we could identify and play and laugh and dramatize and all that, so that they could be able to understand. So just learn that you will get to the level of the child, and don't be afraid. Like I'm assuring you, you'll be shocked that you will be able to connect with a child as the Lord will enable you. And of course, use visuals a lot. Let me add that as well. I remember there's a time we were learning about the animal antelope, and I just couldn't get my daughter to understand something about what an antelope eats, and my husband was passing by, and he went and got soft grass. He got the things that an antelope eats, and showed them to my daughter, and she was able to catch what I was saying, rather than just saying an antelope eats grass, eats soft leaves, that kind of situation. I even know a parent who had to take their child to the post office, go through the motions of writing a letter, addressing it, posting it, and waiting for it to come back, so that they could just understand that. And I thought, wow, I wish I could do that, because sometimes just explaining a concept that is slowly getting swallowed up now that we are not using letters a lot may take time for a child to grasp that. So sometimes just taking them through the entire process helps them. The next thing is trust the Lord to be creative, particularly like I said in the previous video concerning some of the things that are missing, some of the things that may not be where we are, and you just need to be creative to know how to help the child understand a concept, yet the manual has something else, but you trust the Lord for creativity to help them understand the same context with what you have on hand. That one you will need to do it because, again, like I said, we may come from different cultures, we may also be in different settings, and therefore we need to help children understand. I'm just thinking, for example, like what we talked about, seasons. We may not fully understand seasons, so we will need to be creative in order to understand that. Perhaps even watching a video about winter, summer, you know, or autumn or fall and spring, so that a child gets to understand, and some of the things that you will need to be creative around that. I'm thinking of also the environment. I know parents who have actually taken a child sometimes outside so that when they understand their child will be able to grasp things better, or they just need a different environment. You change the environment and begin reading the stories to them, can also be helpful. So just trust the Lord for creativity with your devotion, creativity, you know, so that the Lord can show you how to best communicate to the child. I also found having a group with parents of children with a similar age as yours very helpful. I think at the time, I'm thankful that I had such a group around me. You can compare notes, you can share about sounds, some of the things that are not making sense, or what a parent is doing to help the child understand, or customize some of the things, you know, get to know what they are doing. I think this was very helpful. Also, just giving children opportunity to interact and to play and to share about where they are, what they are doing, some of the challenges, challenging each other as well. That would also be helpful. I found that very helpful for me in just taking my children also through preschool. So if you could find a co-op or something, a fellowship of parents where you can help each other to go along in the preschool, I believe that can also be very helpful. And the last thing is please go for the training. I know that a lot of the groups where we are under, where we have worked with, who have supervised what we do in our country, they will often invite us for trainings in knowing how to handle this system with our children. And one of the trainings that they did is to train you through Accelerated Christian Education's preschool program. Of course, there's the one for the Accelerated Christian Education curriculum as a whole, but I'm thankful that they organized one for preschool to just help parents understand what to do as they help their children through preschool. So this is something you would also want to consider doing, because it will make things very clear as you plan to take your child through preschool using Accelerated Christian Education or any other system for that matter. I'm hopeful that has been a blessing as you continue to help your child through preschool. I pray that you will have a wonderful time even as you look forward to your child getting to learn to read and to write, and as you form a major foundation for their education. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Look out for our next video that I trust will also be a blessing as well. And until that next video, bye.